In this week's episode, I chat to Cito and Paul from Absinthe. Absinthe is their acoustic renditions collaborative project, and I caught up with them when they played their gig at the MusicBox in Observatory recently. We chat about the collaboration and how it started, what sort of covers they do, and we chat about their most recent gig, which was opening for a-ha when they were here for their South African tour. Yeah, so I didn't realize that Absinthe had been around since what, 2004?
Yeah.
Is that right? I mean, how did you guys decide to do what you're doing? Because you're doing covers.
Yeah.
Is what made you?
Man,
were you sitting around having a couple of beers and said, "Hey,
it's not far off." Not far off. We used to live down the road from each other in on the west side, and I was up at his house the one day, and we were talking about music and songs, and from when we grew up. And before we knew it, there was two guitars out. We were drinking coffee and belting out a few songs, and discovered that we had quite a lot of common interest in alternative 80s, 90s, indie, that sort of thing. And then we just sucked up this idea of playing as a kind of supper club indies covers band. That was where it kind of started.
Something to keep us busy during the week at some
Out of trouble.
restaurant or something, yeah. while our main bands would be busy on normal weekends and festivals and that kind of a thing, we could do something more intimate and self-indulgent. That was the criteria for us. It's like whatever we really want to pay tribute to.
Sure.
And we started jamming, and we realized that we both have very sort of distinct voices, and together with the harmonies and the choices that we would make in the arrangements, we had some kind of magic there, even down to our guitar playing. Like, Paul's got a really cool steel string rhythm style, and I've got this finger picking sort of nylon style, so they almost like complemented each other. We never like stepped on each other's toes when we would approach the songs.
Didn't have to work too hard to make it sound like something.
Yeah. So, like, when you take a song, I mean, what do you bring to that song? I mean, do you just do a good cover, or do you take a step back and try and change the style a bit? Or
I think what we try to do is sort of showcase what Cito just said. Trying to get the voices together a lot, so that you can hear the harmonies and the different qualities, timbres of voices. They seem to work because we've got really different voices, actually.
Yeah.
So we tend to work mostly on, when we take a cover, first of all, it's got to be a song that we like,
Yeah.
It's got to be something that's got relevance to us. And then the idea is that we play Nirvana kind of thing with it, where it's like switch on, switch off, keep a lot of air in it at times, and then try and bring home like a lot of light and shade, because we play sort of acoustically a lot.
Strip it down.
We
a lot.
strip it
yeah,
down,
okay,
and play with a lot of dynamics. And sometimes you'll often hear there's no instrumentation, there's just voices in the air, which we're quite happy with. A lot of people would be uncomfortable with, artists anyway, singers would be uncomfortable with, but it makes it kind of, I don't know, it's just different. It just doesn't sound like a covers band, but it is.
Yeah. So then when I heard the supper club thing, the first thing that came to my mind was like the back of the moon kind of thing, and the 360 liquid bar was my my thought of it. And then I see you guys have played there before.
Yeah, we have. Funny enough, to our dismay.
Oh, really? Why?
I don't know. It's a lot of the time it's hit and miss with some of the venues that we play.
Okay.
Especially when people think that we're like a normal covers band, where we're just going to play whatever covers everybody's listening to at the time, and we're just churning these songs out. These songs are like very, very personal, very self-indulgent. A lot of the bands that we play, a lot of the mainstream sort of audience don't really know. So I think for us, it's always been like, we kind of take ownership in a way by the way that we interpret the songs. And so if you don't know who the original artist is, it almost sounds like it's ours. and venues like Back of the Moon, 360 kind of worked. We played there a couple of times, right? And it was quite cool. But those are like heavy mainstream. Those are casino venues.
Yeah, sure.
And people were expecting like what they want to hear, and it's a very different crowd, the casino crowd.
Yeah.
So when our actual sort of followers and fans and friends would come through, it's cool because it's a different kind of venue for them as well. But in general, it can be quite hit and miss, with what we're doing.
Yeah, because I mean that area is quite open, first of all, and there's I wouldn't say lots of youngsters, but I mean there's a younger crowd. Yeah. 360. There's a younger crowd.
Lots of ambient noise, all the slot machines going.
Yeah.
Hallelujah.
Exactly.
Of course.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. Surreal. Surreal.
It's very
Surreal. Yeah.
But
So
we still have fun and we still enjoy it.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah. So a venue like this place, the MusicBox is
perfect.
Perfect. Yeah.
It's absolutely.
This is probably what was in our
Perfect
heads when we made this up in the first place.
Yeah.
It was never to play in venues bigger than 50 people, 60 people. Hopefully you get everybody interested and it gets intimate and turns into a collective usually. With people, audience who like the same songs, and probably they enjoy hearing a different rendition of them.
Yeah.
And this is probably what we had in mind, except we're not wearing the polo necks tonight.
No.
Because that was the original. All in black polo necks in a corner in a room the size you see down
Smoke-filled room.
Smoke-filled, but you're not allowed to smoke down there.
No lids.
Yeah, low lighting,
Yeah.
People almost talking in the background while we just sing.
Yeah. It's almost like I just had that thought of, in the Rodriguez movie in Searching for Sugar Man, where he's actually playing in the back, but he's actually got his back against this smoke-filled place. Yeah, that's great. So, and then like when you play in those venues, I've spoken to a couple of guys where they'll say, they'll be playing in a venue like that, but there's lots of, people aren't really paying attention to you. They're having their conversation there. Does that bother you, or are you quite happy to be in the background when you're doing that supper club kind of vibe?
It's a great question.
It is a great question. We used to. There was a venue called Back to Basics in West Dean, which was the first place where we played, and it ended up being our stomping ground. It was really like our home. We played there often, and we would draw big crowds, and there would be a regular follower crowd that would come, and a lot of them were so into the moment that obviously everybody's drinking, and our name is also quite misleading, although we were sponsored by Dude's Absinthe for a while.
Were you?
Yeah, and
it was a mistake.
It was a mistake. We actually were reconsidering changing the name. But
to break the association.
Yeah, just because there was these expectations. We would get like a bottle of absinthe, a box of absinthe. What do you call it? Like 6 bottles of a case of absinthe a month, and we would have to share it around the crowd and drink it on stage, and this whole vibe, and the wheels would fall off. So there is a party element to Absinthe. But then with the intimate songs like Hallelujah, we'd be like bearing our soul and to be like, like these girls are just going off just because they've been doing tequilas and they're just having the time of their lives. And it's not that they're showing any disrespect to us. They're just like, a little bit sort of, numb to the situation, And in that case, it is what it is. And we've done gigs ridiculously. I mean, remember the gig that we did with our shirts off and you ran off and vomited. And, So, there are moments where we were like out of hand as well.
Yeah.
But in situations where they don't know who we are and we're just background music, we try to avoid those situations. And that's probably why we don't gig as often as we would like to. Because a lot of these venues, they don't care. And the people, the clientele that are there don't really know who we are. So it's quite a niche sort of concept. The format, the song selection, you can't just put us in any public place and expect, people to just stop what they're doing and listening.
Sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, it can go either way. And tonight, I'm sure it's gonna get a bit rowdy, and we must just select our set list properly. so we don't set ourselves up for failure.
Yeah, for failure. Yeah. So, I mean, talking about that set list, I would imagine over the last, I don't know, what's it, 20 years now? Almost 20 years. You've changed that set list, or have you got those staple songs that you always play?
I think there's always been a core group of songs, like from particularly the late 80s kind of era, Joy Division, Pixies. They kind of represent almost the kind of, that's where it started, and then obviously we started choosing more widely after that. You know, we played Johnny Cash song. We don't mind playing Coldplay number. Which strictly speaking isn't really in the, yeah, exactly. Well, a lot of people are like, but, and you know what? You know, you play the song and everyone loves it, so what can you do?
Yeah.
And it's music that influences us.
Yeah.
A lot of the songs are not just nostalgic, they are more current. Kings of Leon, The National more recently.
Okay.
So we do like to add on songs, and there's songs that have fallen away from our set list as well. That
we must have been through at least 50 or 60 in the last
15
years, easily. Some we played once and never again because we've blown them, you know.
Yeah.
We've had some like one-offs. There must be at least 10 of them.
Yeah.
There's a couple of others that we resurrect from time to time because we know we played them 3 years ago or whatever.
Yeah.
Oasis Columbia or Depeche Mode's Personal Jesus.
Yeah, Condemnation we did on our recordings, but we don't
never play it live.
Never play it live.
Yeah, it's weird, you know. It is so indulgent that we just kind of choose the songs that we feel like playing almost every time.
Well, it was going to happen eventually. Sorry, dude.
Where's the camera? Is it getting there?
You're right there, man.
I'm telling you, man.
Why don't you?
This is what I am made of, guys. This is what happens when you deal with me. You let me into your home and I trash.
Why don't we
the place.
share this?
Yeah, you can share this or share that or.
Let's share this one.
Jeez, sake. Look, even the covers come off. I'm ashamed. I'm a heavyweight, ladies, and prone to thinking, which does my heart no purpose. Sorry about that.
Yeah, well, sorry, I set you up for failure there.
It's okay.
Yeah, so those songs have changed over the years. I mean, are there ones that you know that are always going to get the reaction that you want? Or there personal favorites that you guys will always have in there that you...
You know, the dynamics change in every situation that we play in. And sometimes we'll select a set list and realize halfway through that this isn't the way we were planning with regards to the dynamics of the crowd.
Yeah.
And I think that's always, you know, it's always a touch and go thing. It's something that we adapt to, and yeah, I mean, there's no guarantee with any song. You know, it's always dependent on our performance of it because, you know, we've been known to.
Yeah, we can give you a different rendition the next time if you want that.
Yeah.
The same number, you know. It's,
we approach it quite organically in that sense.
Yeah, it's a kind of it's almost like a jam band. And we rearrange the songs in a way that people could never accuse us of blowing them, you know. So we do rearrange. We usually refeel them out as well. So what's really cool is if maybe you got a minute in, and only when you open your mouth to sing the first line do people go, "Oh, fuck, okay, now I know what you're singing." The song, you know.
Yeah.
That's what we try to do, is try to take the songs in a kind of roundabout way, but still pay them a bit of service and justice, give them a bit of something of ourselves, and it's sometimes we play the same song differently depending on what came before that, what the audience is doing, and you know
how many drinks we've had.
That's true as well. Yeah. Used to be more of a problem when we were younger, but it's easier now.
So have you ever, like, in the middle of a gig decided, okay, it's not working tonight, let's change it up? Or do you Yeah.
Often the set list, you after the fourth number, you just don't even look at it because you've decided you're going to go this route.
You just start calling
start calling. Yeah.
Which is actually a lot of the time. We don't have set lists.
That we stick to.
We usually call them a lot.
Okay.
sometimes we have a strict set list like we did for the gig we did with Aha.
Yeah.
And obviously we pulled in some of our friends to play with us.
Yeah.
And,
So I wanted to talk about that because, I mean, it's been the two of you. And now for the Aha and for tonight, you've brought in other musicians. Have you done that before, or was this like the first time that...
When we did our very first gig at Back to Basics, we called a friend of ours in to play drums in a sort of very minimal brush kit kind of way, and it worked so nicely, and we were, we kind of had this chemistry going, Paula, and we did that for a couple of years with Paula, and that was just the three of us. And then every now and then we'll call in an instrumentalist to come and join us. I think we had Mark on keys, and we had
Mark Bentel from
Amersham
and Cassette.
Yeah. We've had guys on guitar, and Umpy joined us for rehearsal,
That's right.
but not for the actual gig.
Yeah.
So we've always been sort of kind of agile in that way. But for the Aha gig, they asked us to, and more recently we've had Rion on drum, like light drums as well, a bit of percussion. He's been joining us for a few of the live gigs as well. But for the Aha gig, we were asked just to beef it up a bit format-wise, so that we can, give it a nice big bang on stage, and we put together a nice sort of super group of all-stars.
Yeah.
And Waldo's joined us for a couple of gigs, just impromptu. He would just...
That's true,
happens to be at the gig, and we'd call him up and he'd just run through stuff. He's a genius like that. He can play by ear.
Great.
There's nothing that can get past him, And so we called him in, and for those gigs, just like the impromptu kind of situation, and it just works. I think it helps that we're doing covers, well-known songs. So every song's a hit, essentially. Yeah. And they're well-known. So I think for this, when we opened for Aha, we kind of beefed Absinthe up to like another kind of level in a way that we didn't expect would happen.
Or didn't even know if it would work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was the adventure in it. But we knew we had to do something bigger sounding for a bigger stage. And obviously we played with everyone already. We played with Waldo quite a lot, actually, even before Rian, if I think about it. Waldo's been playing.
Just thinking, the first time I played with you guys, I think was the end of 2015 or 2014.
Yeah, man.
I was playing a gig in Santon, and Cito had said to me, Paul and I are playing at the library.
That's right.
Yes.
And I arrived after my Jewish wedding with my electric fiddle. You guys said, well, why are you sitting in the audience? You need to be on stage. So awesome. So just, perfect scenario for me, because I love this impromptu kind of stuff.
Great.
I know the guys well. Obviously, the songs that they've chosen of it, I've been listening to them as long as they have too. So then, especially with the full electric kit, with all of my super duper self-esteem booster,
yes,
with the pedals, because a lot of these tracks originally there's a lot of stuff going on underneath in the original version of it that you miss from the duo version with Cito and Paul. So I can just fill in. It's not about being expected to take over like a rocking folk fiddler. It's also just about being discerning and really doing justice to these guys and to the originals and to their interpretation. So I think
You've been lovely.
Been moonlighting with you guys
for probably longer than most. Yeah, man. He's probably. I think Waldo's probably played with us more than anyone actually.
Okay.
Over the years now. I mean, we've had. I think back to what's his name, Brendan Oretz playing harp with us one night. We had Ross from Prime Circle jumped up for 2 numbers one night. Yeah. Carstens has played with us, I think, once. Am I right? Jumped up on one of the covers.
Yes.
It's that kind of thing, you know.
So
we like
like
to
you were talking about the jam band kind of thing.
man.
So it's got that vibe about it. So there's not
but it's
like
got a kind of rock undertone
Totally.
because we all
Yeah.
come
Come
from
from-
rock acts, you know. So
Yeah.
But done acoustically, it's like it's a complete sort of dynamic, free flow, improvising kind of thing. And I think the approach of it is that anyway. When we reinterpret the songs, a lot of it is winding the songs down and like really stripping it down to minimal, so you're not relying on production. That's why doing the whole band thing was a strange and wonderful thing for us, because we haven't done anything like that when we opened for a.h.a.
oh, yeah.
And it was quite nice to interpret our sort of approach to songs, you know, on that kind of production, you know. But yeah, that's Absinthe. It's purely self-indulgent and
And it can scale and it can scale
Yes,
back down again, and
absolutely.
that's great. Yeah.
yeah. We've done gigs where it's just like our voices and acoustic guitars, nothing else, no amplification,
not plugged in at all. Yeah,
Wow.
in a lounge with you know, whatever, 50 people.
that
Whatever.
was someone's birthday, 40th birthday, I think. Yeah, a room this big with 35 people in it, keeping dead hush, you know, while you play without amplification and yeah, that was a full 50-hour long set, and
Yeah.
everyone just kept and loved it. People love that novelty as well of it's not a big flashy presentation about it either. It's just quite genuine, quite real, and quite just is what it is without trying to be too. It doesn't have airs and graces beyond itself.
There's power in the minimal, you know, in that whole raw, soulful performance of it, expression of it, you know.
Yeah. Because sometimes I find songs are almost overproduced.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's the right way to put
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, you're
It's
right.
like I came to watch someone here recently. I won't mention any names.
Ross, wasn't it?
No, it wasn't Ross. No, it wasn't Ross. No, it was.
Throwing him under the bus there.
He'll accept it though. He knows how I feel.
Anyway,
he's
it was Jesse Clegg. And no, well, he played his latest single. He played acoustically here. And then when I heard it on the radio, I was like, I don't like.
You
I
prefer
like,
the acoustic
I like
version.
Prefer to hear
the
it
acoustic
for
A
real.
lot of
yeah.
people say, even when we do Warnerboom Unplugged,
Yes.
and I sidetrack here, but a lot of people that see us unplugged appreciate that more than when we do our full electric set, because they can hear the lyrics, they can hear the melody properly. You can hear every single note that's being played in separation, where they aren't being bombarded by a wall of sound. You know?
Yeah, sure.
So yeah, there is power and magic in a stripped down situation like that.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people gravitate towards that. You know.
And as an artist, I mean, how do you feel about that stripped down thing? I mean, you guys are good at what you do, but I mean, is there a moment of anxiety about
Yeah, especially when I
stepping
fuck up.
away from the power of the
Which
Of
is
a
a
full
lot.
band.
full band? No, I'm not.
Yeah, no, I think it's fair to say initially it was quite difficult when we went out and played for the first year or two. We were quite used to being on stage with Sugar Drive or Warnerboom.
Yeah.
You're usually on a big stage with a lot of people in front of you and a lot of
Volume
sound.
and, yeah.
And now suddenly you've got no fancy gimmicks, no effects. You've got nowhere to hide, and you can hear how badly you play, how badly you sing, because there's nothing else there. That's all you've just put out, and it makes you raise your game in a lot of ways, and you realize how much a band protects you, especially as a vocalist. You get to hide behind that sound quite a lot, and with this project for me, that was the first thing I felt was I'd stepped right out of my comfort zone.
Yeah.
Those first gigs was like starting all over, dry mouth, shaky hands, forgetting parts, fluffing the lines, because just sitting and playing with nothing behind me was challenging, you know. But it's like everything. You get used to it. You get used to the dynamic being a lot lower, but there is still within that world quite a lot of dynamic, away from full drum kits and blasting guitars. You know, it's I think it's for me been a very important part of developing myself as a musician. You know. It felt like a brand new start when we started this 15 years ago, because I was suddenly practicing again, playing an acoustic, which I wasn't really used to at all, and yeah, the bare bones of it, the less is more approach. That sometimes just the smallest note hanging in the air is enough. And you learn that doing things like what we're doing with this space and feel and dynamics and all the musical things lessons everyone gets to learn eventually. But sometimes in a band they aren't important depending on what your band sounds like,
Yeah.
So it's learning curve like everything, and it still is really. Yeah.
So let's talk about Aha quickly. How did that come about that you guys opened up for Aha?
This is gonna be a funny story.
Okay.
So I get this message from one of the organizers from Breakout Events, a guy called Bill Bootis, saying, Cito, I don't know if Paul spoke to you about this or not, but a while back I told him that Aha are
it was
coming
3
out.
weeks. Come on,
and
a while back,
and
hadn't got around.
And I told him that I would like Absinthe to open for Aha. It would be cool. Are you guys available? Or I was like,
First time hearing of it.
I'm like, this is the first time I'm hearing about this. Oh man. So I was like, we're definitely available and we're definitely keen. And then I don't know if he started mentioning then already about beefing up the format of it for the stage and whatever. But I was like, this is typical Paul. He's just so blasé about stuff. By the way, we're opening for Aha. So yeah, they basically approached us and asked if we'd be keen. Obviously, it was a crowd that had lots of crossover because of a lot of nostalgic tunes that we do, and
similar
because
time
of
period for a lot of the kind of stuff that's in like 80s, late 80s.
Yeah, sure.
That's when they were big.
Mm.
So maybe the alternative dads or mums would have maybe been interested in hearing us play those songs versus maybe not being big fans of Aha,
Yeah.
but would have been there anyway. That was the reasoning from what Bill told me.
Yeah.
He felt there would be good crossover. And and then I forgot to tell you, man.
He wanted to do the gig himself.
Yeah. Sorry, Cito, listen,
No,
Cito
sorry,
can't
this is
make it.
solo,
I've left it
it's
to
solo
you.
gig.
I'll handle it though.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I got
right.
this.
Sure.
So then, how did you decide what songs you were going to play on that night?
They gave us. It's so weird. There was a whole back and forth with the duration of the set, and we obviously wanted to oblige the sort of nostalgia vibe of things, but we also wanted to make best of the opportunity and just sound great in whatever songs that we do. So yeah, it was just, we ended up not doing Love Will Tear Us Apart, which is one of our big songs, just because it wasn't sounding as good as the other songs were sounding in this format.
Yeah.
So we rehearsed a few times with the guys, a couple of times, and we kind of decided which songs before and after we had these rehearsals. And we didn't have much time. They gave us 30 minutes, and then we ended up throwing one extra one anyway in the middle of the set, just because we found out that we actually had more time. But it was just what was going to sound cool, and all things considered, I think we just try to put our best foot forward. Also, we haven't been gigging that often recently as Absinthe. So, every now and then with gigs, we like to obviously throw in a new one and try something new. And we would have liked to have maybe attempted a couple of new numbers, but just with time factors and when we got confirmed and all that kind of a thing, we just thought, let's just stick to what we are good at and let's concentrate on getting it sounding good as a full band.
That's great. And then you were talking about now that you guys haven't been gigging that much recently. So how many gigs do you normally do in a year?
It really fluctuates, and it's a really good question because our manager is over there, and I think we should let her answer
that question.
I just get thrown into the middle of it. I tour about 364 times sicher. Wonderful.
Fake news.
Fake news.
Look, we're all busy and stuff. So I think when we do get onto the circuit properly, I think the one-off gigs are okay, but they're not great when it feels like we're reinventing the wheel all the time.
Yeah.
So we've got a couple of gigs lined up. We rehearse, we get it nice and oiled, and then we're in that flow. It's not something that we could just spew out. And also, we're busy in our own sort of individual capacities. So,
sure.
I've got, besides Wonderboom, I've got 2 other projects, and Paul's he's in his cave doing serious medical copy work. So to get him out of the cave, you need like an aha opening or something.
Yeah, something like that.
That's not true.
And even that is he's so blasé about it.
No, look, I love playing live probably more than the next guy. I really do. It's the AHA opportunity was great because it's the first time I personally have been on a big stage for well over a decade. So from that point of view, I really wanted to do that show to feel
that again,
up
yeah.
there again, with the speaker, the stage, the power, everything. It's not the same as playing down in the MusicBox here tonight. I mean, it's just different,
Yeah.
And those opportunities are typically rarer than what we're doing tonight. So that's why it was never going to be a question of not doing that gig, if I have, not from my side anyway.
Sure.
As much as I was blasé. But you get back up on a stage that size again, and you remind yourself of what it's all about, man. The incredible feeling, the power of music.
Response from the crowd.
Yeah, I was going to say the energy that you get from the crowd. Yeah.
Yeah, it's why we make music in the first place, really, for those moments, to try and get those moments, and then you hold them on in your head for as long as you can till the next one comes along, and you feed off of it like a vampire. Makes you walk different. No one messes with you. You get served first. You get served first in Nando's, man.
And I mean, now that people have seen you play open for AHA and all that, do you think you're going to get some traction out of that in terms of people knowing who you are together as a unit? Because I mean, I'm sure a lot of people know you individually for the bands that you're in.
When they announced that we were opening alongside other artists like Art Matthews and Becca and James Deacon, I saw some response, some posts, some comments on that post on Facebook.
WTF?
Like saying, okay, I know who Art is, I don't know who the hell Absinthe is.
Yeah.
And I think the when we first started as Absinthe and we'd play like different venues, a lot of venue owners would sell us as Cito from Wonderboom and Paul from Sugar Drive.
Yeah.
Because who the fuck is Absinthe, and what is Absinthe? And so it was quite funny just seeing that kind of response. People not knowing the background behind Absinthe, which is really basically an all-star duo. And it was nice seeing the reactions afterwards. And yeah, we have had a couple of spin-offs. Tonight is one of those.
Okay, great.
Thanks to our wonderful manager Yolandi.
Seriously, from 2 weeks ago.
And it looks like we've got another one in a couple of weeks at 44 Stanley.
Oh yeah,
Calexico.
Cool. Calexico.
So yeah, it was definitely a good marketing tool for us to open for AHA, which is great because, man, I get so much love and passion. Well, I feel so much love and passion playing this project. And it brings it back down to why I'm doing this whole music thing in the first place, for the love of it. So, and then getting Waldo in tonight, we had a really killer rehearsal a couple of days ago. Yesterday, a day ago. despite my
Interesting choice of adjective.
yeah, and it's weird. It's like he's breathed another kind of new life and identity into our music.
That is so true. What you just said. You know, considering we just had that experience 2 weeks ago of something in the first place, a full size band. You know, a full strength rock band version of Absinthe 2 weeks ago on the big stage. Fantastic experience. But so soon afterwards to be sitting, as Cito says, in a rehearsal 3 days ago with Waldo, and I'm sitting there going, I'm closing my eyes in bliss as we're rehearsing, like a listener, an appreciator, and it just changes it into another beast again, you know, from what it was 2 weeks ago with 5 guys. 3 tonight, it's another thing altogether.
Yeah.
There's a different bunch of songs, and we'll still be playing the ones from 2 weeks ago, but differently.
Yeah.
And it really is quite rewarding to have something that metamorphoses so easily, and also to play with talented guys, you know, helps.
You're saying I'm talented.
I was speaking
about Waldo.
Sorry, I thought I do my head. I should have said.
Anyway, guys, thanks. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
It was great to chat.
For the opportunity to let us blurt.
Anytime.
That's something we didn't discuss with Absinthe. Is the besides the music, actually what saved us from bad music playing is our ridiculous rapport. I don't know. Him taking me out.
We would have when we first started off. It was because it was so shaky on its feet that we kind of sort of restyled it a bit like Rat Pack. Like we would throw jokes in and false start songs deliberately, just to get the audience on our side because we were just really not at it. You know? So it became a bit like more entertainment than music,
like stand up, you know.
Yeah, like stand up. Yeah. So we were like the Rat Pack kind of thing, like, you know, Dean Martin, Frank Sinatra, that sort of thing, where you'd be like riffing off of each other in between songs, just to try and pad out a bit of time, try and get the audience on your side.
Yeah.
And then, you know,
break the ice.
And then incorrectly start the next song or whatever, you know. It was that kind of thing. It was a little bit of like humor and...
Yeah, so there's like a bit of banter between you guys on the stage. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, it's so as if we're rivals.
Like,
but we've reluctantly come together.
Yeah.
It's got a greater good or something. So, yeah.
Cool.
Thanks,
man. Guys. That's great.
On that note,
yeah. Well, there you go. That's this week's episode. And if you would like to listen to a good cover band played by some of the superstars of South Africa's music scene, both Cito and Paul, I would go and check out on social media where they are going to be playing next. Their details are in the show notes. Go follow them on Instagram, on Facebook. And that, my friends, is the end. I'll catch you next time.